Welcome back. Today I'll be sharing about Booker T. Washington, who had, or still have, a bad reputation among some black people for being a sellout. I don't share that position. During the late 1800s, he was one of the most influential black men in the US, and it is my argument that he was the first president of black people in the US. Booker T. Washington was one of the 3 known children born into slavery to an enslaved mother, Jane, in Franklin County, Virginia, on April 4th, 1856. His father was a white man who did not claim him. His mother married a black man who parented him. Washington described the first 9 years of his life on the Bars plantation as follows. I was born in a typical log cabin, about 14 by 16 feet square. In this cabin, I lived with my mother and a brother and a sister till after the Civil War, when we were all declared free. Of my ancestry, I know almost nothing. The cabin was not only our living place, but was used as a kitchen for the plantation. My mother was the plantation cook. The cabin was without glass windows. It had only openings in the side which let in light and also the cold, chilly air of winter. There is no wooden floor in our cabin, the naked earth being used as a floor. Also, he stated that his bed was a bag of rags on the floor. As a child, he valued education. Quote, I had no schooling whatever while I was enslaved, though I remember on several occasions I went as far as the schoolhouse door with one of my young mistresses to carry her books. The picture of several dozen boys and girls in a schoolroom engaged in study made a deep impression on me. And I had the feeling that to get into a schoolhouse and study in this way would be about the same as getting into paradise. After the Civil War, when slavery was abolished, he was 9 years old. As liberated enslaved people were not provided reparations for their enslavement, the family was so poverty-stricken that the 9-year-old Washington worked in salt and coal mines. He longed to attend school, but could not afford it. At the age of 16, his parents allowed him to quit working and attend school. In 1872, he walked 200 miles to Hampton Normal and Agricultural Institute to attend school and paid his way by working as a janitor. Upon graduating, he returned to his hometown and taught children and adults for 2 years. Between 1878 and 1879, he attended Wayland Seminary. Afterwards, he became a staff member at Hampton, the school he attended. In 1881, Washington was selected over white candidate to head the Tuskegee Normal and Industrial Institute, just east of Montgomery, Alabama. In the 1900s, Washington grew Tuskegee Institute from 30 students in a rundown church and a shanty to about 1,000 students on a 100-acre campus. That was more students than in all the white public colleges in Alabama. The Tuskegee Institute became the base of his power and facilitated what I call his rise to presidency. When he gained influence, he attempted to answer the question of how black people should proceed in the post-Reconstruction era, that is, after slavery, after a good time for black people and then goes down. The first presidential act of Booker T. Washington was to establish an ideology that was beneficial to the most numerous and most impoverished black people, while still acceptable to the most intolerant white person. He made a compromise, something all presidents do. Booker T. Washington became a racial accommodationist, one who publicly rejected the pursuit of social and political equality with whites and chose to focus on providing basic education, vocational skills, and establishing a good work reputation or assimilation. He made his position public at the Cotton States Exposition in 1895. In what W.E.B. Du Bois labeled the Atlanta Compromise speech. In this speech, Booker T. Washington said, "Cast down your bucket where you are. Cast it down in making friends in every manly way of the people of all races by whom we're surrounded." He said, cast it down in agriculture, mechanics, in commerce, in domestic service, and in professions. And where could Black people be prepared for these roles? The Tuskegee Institute, of course. His accommodationist rhetoric and his emphasis on self-help appealed to many. Using Tuskegee as his base, Washington built a political force based on the financial backing of Northern financiers, Southern elites, and conservatives. Washington uses wealthy contacts such as Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, and Julius Rosenwald to fund the building of thousands of small community schools and higher education institutions across the South. President William McKinley visited the Tuskegee Institute and applauded and promoted Washington as being a not too radical Black leader who whites could support. The Black president, Booker T. Washington, was admired by and invited to the White House by the white president, Theodore Roosevelt, to dine and to consult him as an advisor on racial issues and Southern patronage. Of course, this invitation caused a backlash among whites because by being in the White House, Booker T. Washington was out of his place. His presence at the White House promoted Black equality and not the stay in a lower place model he promoted. The fact that Roosevelt never invited him again but continued to consult with him in private is proof that maybe Washington's approach was understandable at the time. Also, one of the serious costs of his racial accommodationist position was that though he had the power and connections to do so, he never spoke out publicly against the severe violence against Black people at the time. But there was a private and a public Booker T. Washington, the one who would publicly say the agitation of questions of social equality is the extremist folly, and the one who secretly used his wealth to support Black newspapers advocating for the rights of Black people and supported legal challenges to the Jim Crow laws. As the unofficial Black president, he did what no other president has ever done. He created specific policies for the upliftment of the most impoverished Black people like himself who rose from extreme poverty. He provided them with access to education and opportunities. After his death, the Tuskegee Institute, that was started with a $2,000 investment by the Alabama State Legislature, had a faculty of 200, an enrollment of 2,000, and an endowment of $2 million. That was his work. An institution that did and continues to do so much for the Black community. And his influence was international, inspiring people like Marcus Garvey. So in my humble opinion, he did the best he could with the circumstances he had. Was he the best Black president? I would say the best is yet to come. Thanks for listening.